Maya-chan stepped off the transport ship and looked up at the massive towers of Nexus Prime Academy. The buildings reached so high into the sky that she could not see their tops. Around her, dozens of different alien students moved through the arrival area. Some floated in the air with crystal wings. Others rolled along the ground on multiple legs. A few had skin that changed colors as they walked. She pulled her small bag closer to her shoulder and checked the datapad in her hand. The screen showed her room assignment and class schedule, but something felt wrong about her student records. Where other students had detailed information about their species and home worlds, her file just said, Species, Classified, and Origin, Restricted Sector 7. Maya had never heard of Sector 7. When she asked the Academy officials about it during her registration process, they gave her strange looks and changed the subject quickly. A tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 arms approached the information desk near Maya. She watched as the desk scanner read the alien's biological data in seconds. Zoltonian, Class 3 intellect, specialized in mathematical reasoning, the computer announced. The blue alien smiled and collected his room key. Maya stepped forward next. The scanner hummed over her body for much longer than normal. Finally, it made a confused beeping sound. Species unknown. Biological classification impossible. Please report to Administrative Office for manual processing. The other students nearby turned to stare at Maya. She felt her face grow warm with embarrassment. A security guard with gray skin and multiple eyes walked over to help her. First time we have seen this happen, the guard said in a curious voice. Usually, our scanners can identify any known species in the galaxy. What did you say you were again? I did not say, Maya replied quietly. My records show I am from Sector 7, but I do not know much more than that. The guard looked at his own datapad and frowned. Sector 7 has been locked for 300 years. No one goes there. No one comes from there. This is very strange. After an hour of paperwork and confused officials, Maya finally got her room assignment. She walked through the long hallways of the student housing area, passing aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had huge compound eyes or metallic skin that reflected the hallway. Light-stop Maya found her room and pressed her palm to the door scanner. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside, she saw that she had a roommate. A creature that looked like it was made of living crystal sat on one of the beds, reading a holographic book. Hello, Maya said. I am Maya-chan. I think we share this room. The crystal being looked up. Its face had sharp geometric features that somehow seemed friendly. I am Kexila of the Zephyrian Crystal Fields. Welcome to Nexus Prime. I have never seen a species like yours before. What are you called? Maya sat on the empty bed across from Kexila. I am not sure. My records do not say much about what I am. How interesting, Kexila said, closing her holographic book. Every student here knows exactly what they are and what their species is good at. The Algorians are the best at mathematics. The Krillians are natural warriors. The Compassionates are skilled healers. What is your species good at? Maya thought about this question. She had always been good at fixing broken things and finding solutions to problems, but she did not know if that was normal for her species. I suppose I like to solve problems, she said. Solve problems, Kexila repeated slowly. That is not very specific. Every species here solves problems. The Algorians solve math problems. The Voidwalkers solve physics problems. What kind of problems do you solve? All kinds, I guess. Maya unpacked her few belongings. If something is broken, I try to fix it. If there is a puzzle, I try to figure it out. If people are fighting, I try to help them get along. Kexila's crystalline features shifted into what Maya thought might be confusion. But that is impossible. Every species has specific mental patterns. We cannot just solve all kinds of problems. Our brains are designed for particular types of thinking. Before Maya could respond, their door chimed. A deep voice spoke from the hallway. All new students report to the main auditorium for orientation. Maya and Caxilla joined the stream of students flowing through the halls toward the academy center. Maya noticed that the other students moved in groups with others of their own species. The crystal Zephyrians stayed together and spoke in musical tones. The blue Zaltonians walked in perfect mathematical formations. The dark-furred Compassionates gathered around students who seemed upset or nervous. Maya walked alone until Caxilla moved closer to her. "You do not group with your own species," Caxilla observed. "I do not see any others like me," Maya said, looking around at all the different aliens. They entered the massive auditorium. Thousands of students filled the floating seats that hung in the air at different levels. At the front of the room, a very old creature with long, flowing tentacles and wise-looking eyes spoke into a voice amplifier. "Welcome, young minds, to Nexus Prime Academy," the creature said. Maya's datapad identified him as Dean Thross, a Gethmori who had run the academy for over 2 centuries. "You are here because you represent the finest intellects from across 47 different worlds. Each of you has been chosen because your species has shown exceptional abilities that can benefit the greater galactic community." Dean Thross paused, and his ancient eyes seemed to scan the crowd. "However, this year we have a most unusual addition to our student body. For the first time in 300 years, we have a student from the restricted sectors. A student whose origins are complicated." Maya felt thousands of alien eyes turning toward her. Her face burned with embarrassment as Dean Thross continued. "This student will be monitored closely as we determine the extent of their abilities and whether they pose any risk to our carefully balanced academic environment." After the orientation, Maya hurried back to her room. Caxilla followed her, asking questions. What did he mean about restricted sectors? What did he mean about risk? "Maya, why are you not telling me?" Maya sat on her bed and put her head in her hands. "I honestly do not know," she said, "but I think I'm about to find out." Maya's first week at Nexus Prime Academy was unlike anything the teachers had ever seen. In every class, she approached problems in ways that made no sense according to established galactic knowledge. Yet somehow her solutions worked better than anyone expected. During her first strategic combat theory class, Professor Grixtel announced a special simulation. "Today, you will face a Krillian warmind in tactical combat," the insect-like teacher said, clicking his mandibles together. "This is normally a final year exercise, but we want to see how our new students handle advanced challenges." The other students looked nervous. Krillians were famous throughout the galaxy for their military skills. Their warminds could calculate thousands of battle strategies in seconds. Even senior students rarely won against them in simulation. Maya entered the simulation pod and found herself commanding a small fleet of ships against the Krillian opponent. The warmind immediately began using classic military tactics that had won battles for centuries. It positioned its ships in perfect formations and attacked using proven strategies. Maya watched the warmind's movements for a few minutes. Then she did something that made the watching professors gasp. Instead of fighting back with traditional tactics, she scattered her ships in what looked like total chaos. The warmind calculated that Maya had made a terrible mistake and moved in for an easy victory. But Maya's chaos was not random. She had noticed that the warmind always expected logical, orderly responses. When her scattered ships suddenly coordinated from impossible angles, using the warmind's own momentum against it, the Krillian simulation froze for several seconds. In those seconds of confusion, Maya's fleet surrounded and defeated their opponent. "How did you do that?" Professor Grixtel asked after Maya left the simulation pod. The Warmind's programming should have been impossible to defeat with such unusual tactics. I noticed that it only prepared for logical attacks, Maya said simply. So I did something illogical until the right moment. Professor Grixtel stared at her. But your species classification indicates you should not have military strategic abilities. According to your file, your biology suggests completely different intellectual strengths. Maya just shrugged. She had stopped trying to understand what her species classification meant. It seemed wrong about everything in xenopsychology class. Maya's professor was Dr. Yenthora, a compassionate with soft gray fur and large empathetic eyes. The class studied how different alien species thought and behaved. Each species has evolved specific mental patterns, Dr. Yenthara explained to the class. Algorians think in mathematical concepts. Voidwalkers understand space and energy. Zephyrians process information like growing crystals. Understanding these patterns helps us communicate and work together. For their first major assignment, students had to predict how 3 different alien species would react to a complex diplomatic scenario. Most students spent days researching their assigned species, reading about their history, culture, and psychology. Maya finished her assignment in 2 hours when Dr. Yenthara reviewed Maya's work. She called Maya to her office after class. Your predictions about the Hegemony Council's reactions are remarkable, Dr. Yenthara said, reviewing Maya's assignment on her computer screen. You correctly anticipated not just their initial responses, but also their secondary emotional reactions and their likely compromises. Some of these insights match classified diplomatic reports from actual negotiations. It seemed obvious, Maya said. People usually want the same basic things, even if they express them differently. People? Dr. Yenthara repeated. But these are 3 completely different alien species with different brain structures and evolutionary backgrounds. They should not want the same things. Maya thought about this. Maybe their brains are different, but they all want to feel safe and important and understood. Those feelings seem to be the same everywhere. Dr. Yenthara leaned back in her chair. That perspective should be impossible for your listed species classification. You are demonstrating cross-species empathy at levels we normally see only in compassionates, combined with strategic thinking that rivals Algorian processing power. The strangest incident happened during Maya's advanced physics class. Professor Kelmoth, a voidwalker who existed partially in normal space and partially in quantum dimensions, was demonstrating a complex energy manipulation exercise. Today we will practice containing plasma fluctuations, Professor Kelmoth said, his semi-transparent form flickering as he spoke. This requires precise mathematical calculations and perfect timing. Even small mistakes can cause dangerous energy cascades. During the exercise, another student made an error with his containment field. Energy began building up rapidly inside his equipment. The safety systems activated, but they were not responding fast enough. Professor Kelmoth realized that the equipment was about to explode and damage the entire laboratory. Everyone evacuate immediately, Professor Kelmoth shouted, but Maya did not run. Instead, she grabbed several pieces of spare equipment from nearby workstations and started connecting them in ways that made no sense to anyone watching. What are you doing? Professor Kelmoth called to her. That equipment was not designed to work together. I know, Maya replied, working quickly with her hands while doing calculations in her head. But if I can create a feedback loop using the harmonic frequencies, maybe I can redirect the energy instead of just containing it. She connected the final component just as the overloaded equipment reached critical levels. Instead of exploding, the dangerous energy flowed through Maya's improvised device and dispersed harmlessly into the laboratory's power grid. The room fell silent. Professor Kelmoth stared at Maya's device, then at Maya herself. "That should not have worked," he said quietly. "The principles you just used do not exist in any physics textbook. The equipment compatibility alone should have been impossible." "But it did work," Maya pointed out. "Yes, it did work. And that is what concerns me." Word of Maya's unusual successes began spreading through the academy. Students started gathering to watch her classes, curious to see what impossible things she would do next. Some were fascinated by her unique approach to problems. Others worried about what her unpredictable solutions might mean for their carefully ordered academic environment. In the faculty lounge, professors met to discuss the strange new student. She solves problems that should be unsolvable for her apparent biology. Professor Grixtel said, "She understands species psychology better than students who have studied it for years." Dr. Yenthara added, "She manipulates energy in ways that contradict established physics." Professor Kelmoth concluded. Dean Thross listened to their reports with growing concern. That evening, he returned to his private office and accessed Maya's student file again. He input his highest security clearance and searched for any additional information about Sector 7. What he found made his blood run cold. The restricted files contained references to something called Project Terra and a species that had been relocated for galactic security. The files mentioned dangerous adaptability and unpredictable problem-solving capabilities that could destabilize established order. Dean Thross looked at his calendar. Maya had been at the academy for only 1 week, and already she was demonstrating abilities that matched the old warnings perfectly. He needed to contact the Hegemony Council immediately. Maya was working late in the academy library when she accidentally stumbled upon something that changed everything. She had been researching for her galactic history assignment about ancient civilizations when she typed in the wrong search code. Instead of finding information about the Alterian Empire, a computer screen filled with restricted files marked Project Terra, Classification Level 9. Maya knew she should close the files immediately. Level 9 classification was far above her student clearance. But the word Terra caught her attention. She had been having strange dreams lately about a blue and green planet with vast oceans and forests. Something about that word felt familiar. She looked around the empty library. The night shift security was light, and most students were sleeping. Maya opened the first file. The document was heavily redacted, with black bars covering most of the text. But she could read enough to understand that Terra was the name of a planet, and Terrans were the species that lived there. The files described them as highly adaptable, unpredictable in problem-solving approaches, and potentially destabilizing to galactic order. Maya's hand shook as she read further. The Terrans were also called humans. The description matched everything she had experienced about herself. The ability to solve different types of problems, the unpredictable thinking patterns, the tendency to find solutions where others saw only chaos. Another file contained fragments of a conversation between galactic leaders from 3 centuries ago. The humans cannot be allowed to continue spreading their influence. Their adaptability makes them impossible to predict or control. Every time we think we understand their limitations, they exceed them. The Terra Doctrine must be implemented for galactic stability. Maya found more files that mentioned something called the Human Relocation Project. Most of the details were blocked out, but the summary was clear. An entire species had been moved away from the general galactic population for the safety of established civilization. The final file she could access was a status report marked Project Complete. It stated that all humans had been successfully relocated to secure sectors, and that No human presence remains in general galactic space. Maya stared at the screen in shock. According to these files, she was part of a species that had been deliberately hidden away by the galaxy's government. But why? And how was she here at Nexus Prime Academy? Before she could read more, the computer screen went black. A message appeared. Unauthorized access detected. Security has been notified. Maya quickly gathered her things and left the library. Her mind raced with questions as she hurried back to her dormitory. When she arrived, Kexilla was still awake, studying holographic crystal formations. "You look troubled," Kexilla said, her crystalline features reflecting Maya's worried expression. "Did your research not go well?" Maya wanted to tell her roommate what she had discovered, but something held her back. If humans had been hidden away for centuries, then revealing her identity might put both of them in danger. "I found some information that confused me," Maya said carefully. "Kexilla, have you ever heard of species being relocated by the Hegemony Council?" Kexilla's crystal form shifted slightly, which Maya had learned meant she was thinking deeply. "There are stories," she said slowly. "Old tales about species that were moved to other sectors for various reasons. Usually because they were dangerous, or because they could not adapt to galactic civilization." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious," Maya lied, feeling guilty about not telling her friend the truth. The next morning, Maya woke to alarming news broadcasts playing throughout the academy. Several Outer Rim colonies had been attacked by pirates using tactics that no one had seen in hundreds of years. The attacks were precisely coordinated, used minimal resources for maximum effect, and seemed to anticipate every defensive strategy the colonies attempted. "The attack patterns are puzzling galactic security forces," the news reporter announced. "The pirates seem to understand our defensive strategies better than we understand their offensive ones." Maya watched the footage with growing recognition. The tactics looked like the kind of creative, adaptable strategies she instinctively used in her combat simulations. They looked like human tactics. During breakfast, Professor Durrani, an elderly compassionate who taught ancient civilizations, approached Maya's table. "Miss Chun," he said quietly, "I wonder if you might assist me with some research this afternoon? I am working on a project about lost civilizations, and I believe your unique perspective might be valuable." Maya agreed, hoping the professor might have answers to her growing questions. That afternoon, she met Professor Durrani in his private office, a small room filled with ancient books and artifacts. From across the galaxy, Professor Durrani closed the door and activated a privacy shield that would prevent their conversation from being recorded or overheard. "You accessed restricted files last night," he said without preamble. "Files about Project Terra." Maya's heart raced, but she decided to be honest. "Yes, I did. By accident at first, but then I kept reading." "Professor, am I a human?" The old compassionate's kind eyes filled with sadness. "Yes, child, you are. And I am one of the few beings alive who remember what really happened to your people." "The file said they were relocated," Maya said. "But the news reports about those pirate attacks. Those tactics looked familiar to me." Professor Durrani nodded gravely. "The official story was that humans were relocated to secure sectors. The truth is more complicated. Some humans were indeed moved to hidden colonies, places where they could develop their abilities without interference or observation. But others went into hiding on their own." He pulled out an ancient data pad and showed Maya images of a beautiful blue and green planet. "This was Terra, your ancestral home. Your people were remarkable. They could adapt to any environment, solve problems that seemed impossible, and unite different groups in ways no one had ever seen before." "Then why were they hidden away?" Maya asked. "Because some members of the Hegemony Council feared that human adaptability would disrupt the established order," Professor Durrani explained. Each species in our galaxy has specific roles and capabilities. Humans did not fit those categories. They could do a little bit of everything, and that made them unpredictable. Are there others like me? Yes, Professor Durrani said. You are the first human to emerge from the hidden colonies in generations. I helped fake the extinction reports to protect your people. But now, with these pirate attacks using human tactics, and with you demonstrating human abilities here at the Academy, the Hegemony Council is becoming suspicious. Before Maya could ask more questions, Professor Durrani's communication device beeped with an urgent message. His face went pale as he read it. What is it? Maya asked. Agent Veltar of the Hegemony Council is coming to Nexus Prime for what they call a routine inspection, Professor Durrani said. But Veltar is not known for routine work. He specializes in finding threats to galactic security. Do you think he suspects something about me? Professor Durrani looked at Maya with deep concern. I think, my dear, that your time of hiding is about to end. I'm not sure any of us are ready for what comes next. That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling while Kexila slept peacefully in the next bed. She finally knew what she was, but now she faced a terrible choice. She could try to hide her human nature and hope Agent Veltar did not discover her secret. Or she could reveal the truth and risk not only her own safety, but the safety of every other human still hiding in the galaxy. Either way, Maya realized that her quiet life as a student at Nexus Prime Academy was about to become much more dangerous. Agent Veltar arrived at Nexus Prime Academy 3 days later. Maya recognized him immediately from the descriptions she had heard about Sekthari agents. He was tall and thin with dark metallic skin that seemed to absorb light. His eyes glowed with a cold blue energy, and when he moved, there was no sound at all. The Sekthari were known throughout the galaxy as the perfect hunters. They could track prey across star systems, detect lies through biological changes, and move through any environment without being detected. If the Hegemony Council wanted someone found, they sent a Sekthari. Maya watched from her dormitory window as Agent Veltar met with Dean Thross in the Academy's main plaza. Even from a distance, she could see the tension in their conversation. Dean Thross gestured toward the student housing area several times. That afternoon, Maya was called out of her advanced problem-solving class for a routine student interview. She knew this was not routine. Agent Veltar waited for her in a small, windowless room in the Academy's administrative building. When Maya entered, she felt his cold blue eyes examining every detail of her appearance and behavior. Sit, Agent Veltar said in a voice like grinding metal. I have questions about your background. Maya sat in the chair across from him and tried to keep her breathing steady. Professor Durrani had warned her that Sekthari could detect fear and lies through changes in heart rate and body chemistry. Your student file is unusual, Agent Veltar continued. No clear species classification. No detailed background information. No family records. Very strange for a student at this academy. I was told my records were damaged during transfer, Maya said, repeating the story she had been given when she first arrived. Agent Veltar leaned forward. I have reviewed thousands of student files. Damaged records contain fragments of information. Your records contain nothing but false classifications and redirected data paths. Someone has deliberately hidden your true identity. Maya felt sweat forming on her forehead despite the cool temperature in the room. I do not know anything about that. Your academic performance is also interesting, Agent Veltar said, pulling out a holographic display showing Maya's test results and class assignments. You demonstrate capabilities that span multiple species classifications. Strategic thinking like a Krillian. Empathy like a compassionate. Creative problem-solving like... He paused and his blue eyes focused intensely on Maya's face. like something we have not seen in 300 years. Maya knew he was testing her reaction. She tried to keep her expression neutral. "I am just good at studying," she said. Agent Veltar stood up suddenly. "There have been reports of pirate attacks using tactics that match your problem-solving patterns exactly. This is not a coincidence." Before Maya could respond, the room's emergency lighting activated. A recorded announcement filled the academy. "All students and staff report to designated safety areas immediately. We are experiencing a complete environmental systems failure." Maya knew this was not a real emergency. Through the small window in the interview room, she could see other students moving calmly through the hallways, not panicking like they would during a genuine crisis. Agent Veltar cursed in the Sekthari language and activated his communication device. "What is the nature of this emergency?" "Unknown, sir," came the reply. "The environmental systems are malfunctioning, but our technicians cannot identify the source of the problem. All security protocols have activated, sealing most areas of the academy." Maya realized that someone was helping her, but she could not figure out who or why. "You will remain here," Agent Veltar told Maya as he headed toward the door. "This room is secured." But when Agent Veltar tried to open the door, it would not respond to his access codes. The security system had locked them both inside. "This is not possible," Agent Veltar said, working frantically with his handheld computer. "My clearance codes override all Academy security." While Agent Veltar struggled with the door, Maya noticed that the room's ventilation grate was larger than normal. As the environmental systems continued their supposed malfunction, the air circulation became stronger. Maya realized that the grate was just big enough for someone her size to crawl through. When Agent Veltar turned back toward her, Maya was gone. Maya crawled through the Academy's ventilation system, using her small size and flexibility to navigate spaces that most alien species could not fit through. The layout was confusing, but she had always been good at finding her way through complex spaces. She emerged from a ventilation grate in the student recreation area and found Caxilla waiting for her. "This way," Caxilla said urgently. "We do not have much time. You caused the system malfunction?" Maya asked as they hurried through corridors filled with confused students and faculty. "Not just me," Caxilla replied. Dekvar helped with the security systems. Zindar provided the environmental programming. Ylex created the communication interference. Maya was amazed. Students from 4 different species were working together to help her escape. "Why are you helping me?" "Why are you helping me?" "Because you helped us first," said a deep voice behind them. Maya turned to see Dekvar, a massive Krillian warrior who was normally competitive and aggressive. "You showed me new ways to think in combat class. Your strategies made me better than I was before." As they moved through the academy, more students joined them. Zindar, a brilliant Algorian mathematician. Ylex, a quiet voidwalker who rarely spoke to anyone. Even Morgith, a proud hegemony species member who usually looked down on others. "Maya," Caxilla said as they climbed stairs toward the Academy's research levels, "we do not know exactly what you are, but we know what you have done for us. You have made all of us better students and better friends." They reached a restricted area that Maya had never seen before. The research levels contained dangerous experimental equipment and were normally off-limits to students. But the emergency lockdown had disabled many of the safety barriers. "Agent Veltar will track us here eventually," Dekvar warned. "His Sekthari abilities make him nearly impossible to hide from for long." Maya looked at her friends, aliens from across the galaxy, who were risking their academic careers and possibly their safety to help her. She realized she had to tell them the truth. "I need to explain something," Maya said as they gathered in an abandoned laboratory. "I am not what my student file says I am. My species is called Human. We were hidden away from the galaxy 3 centuries ago because some people feared we were too dangerous. The group was quiet for a moment. Then Zindar spoke up. Are you dangerous? The Algorian asked. Maya thought about the question seriously. I do not think so. But I am different from other species. I can adapt to problems in ways that others cannot. I think that is what scares them. Good, said Dekver firmly. Different is good. Different makes us all stronger. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of movement in the corridors outside. Agent Veltar had found them. He will try to take you away, Kexila said. What do you want us to do? Maya looked around the laboratory at the complex experimental equipment. An idea was forming in her mind. A crazy, dangerous idea that used all the human problem-solving abilities she had been trying to hide. I want to show the Academy exactly what a human can do, Maya said. And I want all of you to help me do it. Agent Veltar's voice echoed through the research level. Surrender the unclassified student immediately. And no disciplinary action will be taken against the rest of you. Maya smiled at her friends. Are you ready to do something impossible? Maya's plan was simple in concept. It required perfect coordination between species that had never worked together before. She needed to get to the Academy's main auditorium, where the entire student body and faculty would be gathered for the emergency assembly that Dean Thross had called. Dagvar, I need you to create a distraction near the main security station, Maya said quickly as they heard Agent Veltar getting closer to their laboratory. Make it loud but not dangerous. Zindar, can you calculate the exact timing for the environmental systems to route power to the auditorium's main display screens? The Algorian's mathematical mind was already working on the problem. Yes, but I will need 17 minutes and 32 seconds to bypass the safety protocols. Yelex, can you use your Void Walker abilities to move through the walls and set up the power routing that Zindar calculates? The quiet Void Walker nodded, his semi-transparent form flickering as he prepared to phase through solid matter. Caxilla, I need you to get to the auditorium and convince as many students as possible that what they are about to see is not a threat. Maya continued. Can you do that? I can try, Caxilla said. But Maya, what exactly are they going to see? Maya took a deep breath. They are going to see what humans are really capable of when we work together with other species instead of being hidden away from them. The sound of metal being torn apart echoed from the corridor. Agent Veltar was cutting through the laboratory's security barriers. Go, Maya said to her friends. I will meet you in the auditorium. As her friends scattered to execute their parts of the plan, Maya turned to face the laboratory's experimental equipment. The devices around her were designed to test the limits of different alien abilities, strength amplifiers for warrior species, mathematical processors for calculating species, empathy enhancers for diplomatic species. Maya had noticed something that the Academy's researchers had missed. All of these different devices were designed with similar power routing and interface protocols. With the right modifications, they could be connected together into something entirely new. Agent Veltar burst through the laboratory door, just as Maya finished connecting the last components of her improvised device. His cold blue eyes widened when he saw what she had built. That is impossible, Agent Veltar said. Those devices were not designed to work together. The power feedback alone should destroy them. You are right, Maya said, activating the device. They were not designed to work together. But that does not mean they cannot work together. The laboratory filled with energy as the different alien technologies merged into a single, harmonious system. Strength enhancers provided power stability for mathematical processors, while empathy enhancers created feedback loops that allowed the entire system to adapt and balance itself. What are you? Agent Veltar demanded, raising his weapon. I am human, Maya said proudly. and I am not hiding anymore. She activated the final component of her device. Every screen in the academy displayed the same message. Emergency assembly, main. Auditorium, all students and faculty report immediately. Maya ran past the stunned Agent Veltar, leaving her improvised device running behind her. She could hear him following, but she had spent weeks learning the academy's layout. She knew shortcuts and passages that a Sekthari hunter would not expect. When Maya arrived at the main auditorium, she found chaos. Thousands of students from dozens of species filled the floating seats. Dean Thross stood at the central podium, trying to explain the emergency situation. Agent Veltar's demands to apprehend Maya had created confusion and fear throughout the academy. Maya walked straight down the main aisle toward the podium. Conversations died as students recognized her. Agent Veltar appeared at the auditorium's main entrance, his weapon ready. Dean Thross, Maya called out as she reached the center of the room. I request permission to address the academy. The ancient Geth Mori looked between Maya and the armed Agent Veltar. Miss Chun, this is not the time for student presentations. Actually, Maya said, this is exactly the time. She activated the device she had built in the laboratory. The auditorium's main display screens lit up with data streams showing her academic performance, her problem-solving methods, and the biological scans that had confused the academy systems since her arrival. My name is Maya Chun, she said, her voice carrying throughout the massive auditorium. I am a human being. My species was hidden away from galactic civilization 300 years ago because some people feared what we were capable of. Gasps and murmurs filled the auditorium. Many students had heard legends about the lost human species, but few believed they actually existed. Agent Veltar began moving toward Maya, but Dekver stepped into his path. The massive Krillian warrior was followed by Kexilla, Zindar, Yelex, and dozens of other students from different species. Let her speak, Dekver said firmly. For the past month, Maya continued, I have been learning alongside all of you. I have seen Algorian mathematics, Krillian strategy, compassionate empathy, and Voidwalker physics. Each of your species has incredible abilities that have made our galaxy stronger. Agent Veltar tried to push past the wall of students protecting Maya, but more aliens joined the barrier. Students who had barely spoken to each other before were now standing together. But I have also seen something else, Maya said, her voice growing stronger. I have seen what happens when different species work together. Kexilla taught me patience. Dekver showed me courage. Zindar helped me understand precision. Every one of you has made me better than I could be alone. The display screens showed footage from Maya's classes, her combat simulations where she worked with Krillian tactics, her physics experiments that combined human creativity with Voidwalker precision, her diplomatic solutions that use compassionate empathy enhanced by human adaptability. The reports that led to the Terra Doctrine were right about one thing, Maya continued. Humans are adaptable. We do think in unpredictable ways. But that is not a threat to galactic civilization. That is a gift we want to share. Dean Thross watched the footage with amazement. He had never seen such effective cooperation between different species in his centuries at the Academy. Agent Veltar finally pushed through the crowd of students and pointed his weapon at Maya. Enough. The Terra Doctrine exists for the safety of the galaxy. You will come with me immediately. But instead of backing down, Maya smiled. Watch this, she said to the thousands of students in the auditorium. She activated the final program in her laboratory device. Every piece of experimental equipment in the academy began working in perfect coordination. Strength amplifiers powered mathematical processors. Empathy enhancers guided strategic calculations. Physics manipulators responded to diplomatic protocols. The result was beautiful. The Academy's energy system stabilized at perfect efficiency. Communication networks that had been separate for different species merged into a single, harmonious network. Environmental controls adapted to the specific needs of every alien biology simultaneously. This is what happens when species work together instead of staying separate, Maya said as the auditorium filled with the soft glow of perfectly balanced alien technology. This is what humans can help you achieve. Agent Veltar stared at his readings in disbelief. Every system in the academy was performing better than ever before, powered by technologies that should have been incompatible. A new voice echoed through the auditorium. Agent Veltar, lower your weapon immediately. Supreme Counselor Ethmara of the Hegemony Council appeared on the main display screen, having monitored the situation from the galactic capital. Her ancient, wise features showed thoughtful consideration rather than fear. Supreme Counselor, Agent Veltar said, confused. The Terra Doctrine requires. The Terra Doctrine was created based on fear of the unknown. Supreme Counselor Ethmara interrupted. What I see here is not a threat to galactic civilization. I see an enhancement of it. She paused, studying the data streaming from Nexus Prime Academy. For 300 years, we have maintained separate educational tracks for different species, believing that diversity was a source of potential conflict. This human student has demonstrated that diversity is actually a source of strength when properly united. Maya looked around the auditorium at thousands of alien faces, Krillians and Compassionates, Algorians and Voidwalkers, Zephyrians and dozens of other species, all watching with wonder as their academy operated more efficiently than ever before. I hereby order the immediate suspension of the Terra Doctrine, Supreme Counselor Ethmara announced. Agent Veltar, you will return to the capital for reassignment. Beanthros, Nexus Prime Academy is authorized to begin preparations for the integration of human students into the galactic academic community. The auditorium erupted in cheers. Students from different species hugged each other in celebration. Maya felt tears of joy streaming down her face as her friends surrounded her. Dean Thros approached Maya with a formal academy document pad. Miss Chun, he said with a smile, would you be interested in a teaching position? I believe we could use someone to develop our new interspecies cooperation curriculum. 6 months later, Maya stood in the same auditorium addressing a new group of students. But this time, she was not alone. 12 other humans had emerged from the hidden colonies,